Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the road, man. That's it. My heart is breaking right now. That is it. The final OTA for the offseason. There is nothing left. There's nothing else going on after this. This is the part where we reach the absolute deadest period of the offseason. Mandatory minicamp done for the Detroit Lions. OTA is done. We already had the day taken away from us. And today was the final OTA. So now everybody's off for the summer. This is it. The next time we see and really hear something substantial about the Detroit Lions will be when the training camp dates are announced. So, I mean, we might have a signing or two, man, but what a offseason it's been. It really has been. We're going to get into the final day of OTAs, the observation from prior to Detroit. But before I get into that, just want to let everybody know that this is when my kind of break will start. I'm going to take a semi break. First, I was going to walk away just completely. Like, you know what? I'm going to just take the summer off and come back for training camp. It'll be little tidbits here and there, but I think this is the official end of all the up-to-date reporting. So what we're going to do is if there's something to talk about, we'll keep an eye on Jake Bates and we'll keep an eye on those things and any signings or releases that the Detroit Lions do make. But I will probably start doing the reactions to the games like I did last season. We only got through about 5 games or so. Back then I was still kind of caught up on numbers. So I was, kind of not depressed, but a little disheartened because of the numbers. But I have evolved beyond that now, and numbers don't bother me nearly as much as they do. I know you guys will be around in one way or another. So I just want to put that out there. Probably should have said that to the end of the video, but I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, man. It's kind of a sad day. It's kind of a sad day, man. What a year we've had, just off season and everything, from the signing of, DJ Reader to the drafting of Ennis Rakestraw. It's been a whirlwind, man. So without further ado, let's get in to the very last OTA. This is indeed the end. This, to me, marks the official end of the offseason. Now it's just we wait and we get there. But this is coming from Pride of Detroit. Here's what Jeremy Reisman, shout out to Jeremy Reisman, what he had to say. Says, last week, Coach Dan Campbell said Monday's practice would be offense-defense, while Tuesday's practice would be special teams heavy. With the forfeit of Monday's practice, it appears the Lions mashed the practices together. Obviously, the special teams work is critical for these young players, as their aptitude, in fact, of the game may decide whether they make the roster or not. Says, there's not a ton to say about the drills with contact still not being allowed, but I will note that receiver Caden Davis flashed a little as a potential punt returner. Now, I did mention Caden Davis earlier today about him possibly making the roster, the 53-man roster, as that 6 wide receiver, but I have a feeling we could be bringing somebody outside, but that's good to see. Says, obviously, that job is not up for grabs with Khalif Raymond likely to hold it down in 2024, but it's just another feather in Davis's cap. Tuesday, receivers coach Antoine Randall spoke about Davis spring. Says Caden has been around the league a bit more, obviously, but to be able to come into the offense, pick it up as quickly as he has, and then go out and applying it on the field and making those plays is a big deal, Randall said. Now, this is the guy that we saw when we did that Terrion Arnold play a couple of weeks ago. This is the receiver that had a step on Terrion Arnold. And however you like to play it, he got the interception, which is what mattered. Whether he was beat or not, or just playing really good defense, then that is, to be determined. But he wound up with the interception. But the guy he was running up against was Caden Davis. I wouldn't be surprised if this guy can kind of sneaky. I think Caden Davis is going to be this year's Chase Cota. He's going to be the guy that we watch kind of as the preseason goes along to see if he can make the roster. It's a couple more things I want to talk about as well. One was Sion Vaki. Says Vaki was the only running back in attendance, but he made an impression during what were 2 very short team sessions. His best play came during 7-on-7s when he beat linebacker Deron Gilbert on a real route for a considerable gain. When it moved on to 11 on 11s, Vacky kicked off the drive with a crossing route in which he beat new linebacker Ben Neiman by a few steps and picked up about 10 yards. Vacky was one of the most impressive players this spring, and I believe if he can get some of the fundamentals down when it comes to timing and pass protection, he could carve out a role on offense, albeit a relatively small one. Don't forget that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes was talking about where he would play, and that this guy his role was really going to be running back, but he could also be on special teams. I think with him being potential running back 4, that the most that we'll see of him is on special teams, especially if he can't get that timing down and stuff like that Jeremy was referring to, then we probably won't see him too much during the game, but we're going to get our fair share of him during the preseason. And last but not least, let's conclude this OTA offseason coverage by an update on Hendon Hooker, which has been the topic of a lot of conversation of late. Jeremy says, couple of dimes from Hendon Hooker. It was a decent day for Hooker, the only quarterback present. On the aforementioned wheel route to Vacky, Hooker displayed perfect touch on the pass. Then when he needed a fastball to tight end Sean McKeon, on a 20-yard post route, he missiled the ball in there perfectly. Note, it was also a good route by McKeon, who had a couple of steps on Neiman. And then he concludes by saying, that said, the processing is still taking time. During 11 on 11s, Hooker took sacks twice. Neiman, Mitchell, Agude, despite them only running about 10 total plays. So I know we've had our fair share of conversation about Hendon Hooker, but I think the reality is the guy needs some touches. He needs some touches. And now with the offseason, essentially, in my opinion, this to me is because when you come back for training camp, that's still considered the offseason. But to me, it's kind of the new season. So with the offseason, all the work he can get in before training camp. Hendon got a long way to go. That's 2 sacks in 10 plays. 2 sacks. So processing, holding the ball very long. And you know what's funny is we talk about Jared Goff and a lot of you guys. And when I say you guys, I'm talking to the people that are guilty of this. When people talk about what Jared Goff doesn't do well, dinking and dunking and all that stuff, you have to remember the quarterback has 2.4 seconds to get rid of the football. And if Jared Goff is going to take a check down or a dink or dunk as opposed to a sack, that's something I'll take every day. So with that being said, is Hendon Hooker ready? The answer is no. Answer is no. Right now, no. So Hendon Hooker has training camp where he's going to get his own guys. I think we have a joint practice against the Giants, if I'm not mistaken. He also has preseason where he's going to get the realest kind of example of NFL football that he's ever had. Because remember, he didn't play last year. My wife is moving around upstairs. It's distracting me. But this is the closest he's going to get to a real season action, real football speed, game speed. So we got a lot to see from Hendon Hooker in the meantime. Obviously, you can check this article out. I'll link it in the description below. But this is it. This is it. It's like I said before, man, it's a real sad day. It's like bittersweet, man, because we have 89 days until the Detroit Lions kick off their, first game. We've got less than 60 to the preseason. And I don't want to wish the summer away because the summer is, in Michigan, if you live in Michigan, it is either you get winter or summer. You don't get spring or fall. It's weird. It's kind of bittersweet, man. Good and bad at the same time. Because when the season comes back, it'll be fall, which is my favorite time of year. But the kids will be going back to school and that routine. My son just got out on Friday, so I don't want to rush that past. He'll be going to high school coming up. And we got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. 6 o'clock. So during the entire NFL season, I'll be getting up 6 in the morning, man. So anyway, but what can you do, right? So anyway, there you have it. There you have it. Shout out to you guys, man, for making this a great offseason. The good, the bad, the ugly, my reactions, the whole nine. And I'm not going anywhere, but the break that I was talking about a couple weeks ago, looks like it's upon us, man. We will be chilling for, like I said, the majority of anything that needs to be brought up or talked about, any moves, any signings, any stuff like that, then we will be talking about it. But probably tomorrow, the goal is to do one reaction per day. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a reaction leading up to like that first day of training camp where the fellas come back. So maybe we'll try to figure out when, hopefully they come out with the dates pretty soon. Cause if I was to start tomorrow, that will literally take us to July 1st, which is possible. So look for those to come out very soon. With that being said, I'm still around. We're still going to have a giveaway at 21K and we're getting ready for the season, man. So you guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.